Ah,
I'm hot.
magic.
I'm hot.
Okay, I think we're ready to go again. Come to, what time is it? Reconvene the meeting at 10:02. We're moving now to agenda item 6B. This is first reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2128. Consideration of an amendment to the PUDC Planned Unit Development Commercial District for the Winding Creek Development, specifically for hours of operation on lots 9R and 10R Block 1 of the Winding Creek Addition located at 6412 and 6416 Colleyville Boulevard.
Thank you. So this is a companion piece of the item that you just heard. This is specifically to amend the existing PUD in an attempt to amend the hours of operation specifically for the daycare facility proposed use. So I'll go through these very quickly. Really, this is the slide at the matter. There is a current regulation that hours of operation for all of the lots along the backside shall not exceed 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. What they'd like to do is propose to amend that for their specific use, the daycare, to include this following language. And specifically for a child daycare facility on lots 9R and 10R, the hours of operation shall not exceed 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And really what that should include is on Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Their hours of operation are Monday through Friday only, and so in the ordinance itself, it does include the Monday through Friday. I forgot to put it on here. So that's the only change that they're proposing to the PUD language. Again, we received 2 responses back in opposition, and staff recommends approval. Planning and Zoning Commission also recommends approval to the change. And obviously, that is contingent on the special use permit being approved. And so if that ends up not being approved, then this would just go away, really.
Okay. Very good. Any questions?
No.
No. Thank you. I'm going to open public hearing. Public hearing is open. I have no cards. Anyone here wish to speak on this item? See no one indicating that. I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. First reading, so there's no action tonight. We're going to move to agenda item 6C. 6C is first reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2129, request to appeal the decision to the Planning and Zoning Commission for consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard on Lot 1, Block 7, Creekside at Colleyville, Phase 3, located at 3501 Valmore Avenue, case ZC 20-013.
Thank you. So at your last meeting, you decided on a couple cases, SUP cases within this same subdivision, Creekside at Colleyville. So we have 3 more lots, all of which are located within Creekside at Colleyville. We'll go through obviously each one individually. So this first one is a request to extend it into the street side yard at 3501 Valmer Avenue. A supermajority vote is required at the Planning and Zoning Commission. It did not receive the 4 affirmative votes it needed for recommendation for approval. That's the same as a denial, and that is what triggered the supermajority for.
What was the vote?
3-3.
There were 6 people?
There were 6 there,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, so it was 3-3. It did not receive the 4 needed. Here's an aerial map of the site. It is at the corner of Valmer and Petrus. As I stated, it's within the Creekside at Colleyville subdivision. It does have PUDR zoning, and it is designated for residential use. And here's some pictometry photos of the site, the overhead view as well as the perspective view, the angle view. In this case, they are proposing a wrought iron fence to extend into the street side property as close as 5 feet to the property line. It'll be just inside of the sidewalk that they will be constructing as part of the new home construction. One thing that does set this one apart from the one you saw last week is that the adjacent property to the south, it does have a solid wood fence, which is at the building setback. As far as some history, there was a letter that staff had prepared as far as identifying the regulations that existed at that time. That was in November of 2018. The Land Development Code was amended in 2019, August 2019. The house was permitted back in April of this year, And so it is under construction right now, and they applied for the application in June.
Yeah.
This is the language that they're requesting a modification to, basically stating that within a street side yard, it must meet the required building setback line, which in this case for this zoning district is 15 feet from that side property line. And they're proposing the fence to be as close as, or within 5 feet of that property line, which is up adjacent to the sidewalk.
Yep.
This is a photo provided by the applicant as far as an example of what they'd like to do with the wrought iron fence. You can see the proximity to the sidewalk. And here are some photos that staff took of the site, so you can see the foundation is in place. I'm not sure if they've gone vertical yet or started, but in that right-hand picture, you can see the adjacent property. It does have a solid fence, which is at the
Right.
setback.
Right.
You've seen this. This was provided by the applicant, identifying the lots under their control, so they're and located within at the corners. So you can see there are several properties, but I think the direction was that we would review these each one individually and review them based on the merits for each property. So the red stars were the ones that you heard last time, and then the blue ones are all for tonight.
Right.
Ben,
Yeah.
quick question.
Mhm.
This lot doesn't have a retaining wall, right?
Nope.
It does not, no. The middle of the blue stars does have a retaining wall.
Is this the top blue star?
Yeah, this was
The
the top
one,
one.
yeah.
So north is pointing towards the right, so it's the western of the three.
It looked like the elevation was higher than the road or where the sidewalk was going to be with next to the foundation.
No, not
No.
really.
It's not?
Not too much.
No,
No,
I mean, that's a standard practice.
it's almost
Under-
flat.
yeah, it's flat.
Okay,
Compared to all the others, it's
Yeah.
flat.
okay.
Yeah, this one, I commented last time, this one, I can't come up with any reason why we would do this.
No,
Even the house behind it,
it has
Has
its
it-
wood fence, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
so I don't have a rationale in my mind.
I don't either.
In any case, they do have the opportunity to request for a special use permit when they don't meet the requirements of the Land Development Code. We did send notices out to all properties within 500 feet and did not receive any responses back, one way or the other. Staff recommends denial as it does not meet the technical requirements of the Land Development Code. And as I stated before, this failed to receive the 4 affirmative votes at the Planning Zoning Commission. And with that, where they failed to reach that, it's the same as a denial, which triggers a super majority, which is 6. It will
Yeah.
require 6 votes for it to pass.
Yeah.
And I know the applicant's here to answer any questions.
Y'all have any questions? Applicant want to make any comments?
Mayor, that's really carved too, so.
Oh, okay, so that's on the copy, okay. Then we'll, yeah. Hi.
Good evening, Cheryl Turner, 5835 Shoreside Bend, Irving, Texas. And I'm here representing Mainview Homes and also by extension the homeowners who have purchased this home and will be closing on it sometime early next year.
Okay.
The SUP that's before you is a little bit different than some of the fact positions we presented in the last meeting. And this particular case, we have a house where the build line is actually, the house is not exactly on the build line. There is a little bit of room outside the build line on this house. So in this particular case, you can put a wood fence down the side of the house. That wood fence would be very close to the home, and which is the reason why we were seeking an extended fence to give a little more room down the side. The picture that was placed up doesn't quite show the full extent, and I thought I might like to show that tonight if I can get the, whatever they call this thing, turn on.
You want me to go hold it for you, Mark?
No. You're fired from that job.
Hopefully The internet not out. Not I could do the Vanna White.
Yeah.
May have to do that.
One of those nights. Yeah, typically. I'm gonna have to call in the,
Call him where they are.
tech support.
What are you trying to show us?
All right, let me,
Quickly for all
okay,
Well, just, we can see it.
show it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
You can hold it up and
yeah, let me,
trying to show you.
so, what I'm trying to show you
Yeah.
basically is, this is the corner side of the
Right.
property.
Right.
Correct,
The red line that I've marked is
Correct.
the maximum fence you
Correct.
could put on this property.
right.
In this case, you would be allowed to put a wood fence all along where this red line is located.
Yeah,
It's what, about 2 feet?
It would be between, it's a little bit further in the front than it is in the back, so it's probably 2.5-ish on the back and about 3 on the front.
yeah.
So what I'm here to submit tonight is that does create a somewhat unusable
Hey, Mark,
side yard.
exhibits in the packet.
Yeah, they couldn't mow it.
No.
They
We would
could
probably
do
have to
it.
gravel it. I don't know if you'd ever
Slide
fit a
number
mower down it.
441.
But also aesthetically, you're getting a wood fence down the side of the house where what we were proposing as an alternate was the open fencing,
Yeah,
which we think is more aesthetically pleasing and does provide more room to be able to put a landscape buffer or something else here that would be more aesthetically pleasing from the street scene side.
mhm,
So I think what we're proposing benefits, obviously, the homeowner in giving them more usable yard, but it also benefits the street scene in giving you the opportunity for a maintained landscape buffer and a little bit of open fencing versus just a long wall of wood fence along the side. The property across the street from this home does have the metal fencing on the same location as we're requesting it on this home, so they would be facing each other and both facing Valmer. And so from Valmer, it would be a very consistent look as well on the corner of Valmer. So those are the basic reasons why we think there are some special circumstances on this one, and I know that it is a little bit different than the others we presented, but I think there are some valid reasons why we
Yeah.
would
Well-
want to consider that in this case.
Will the fences make a straight line down Valmer? Is that what you're describing?
So when you're looking at the street scene on Valmer, they're going to be facing each other, and they both will be coming out from the property the same distance. If you're driving along the side street, which is, I forgot what the side street is. The two homes that are across the street are back to back. That's the one that was approved the last council session. Those two are back to back and have the fence running along the side. When you're looking at this property, the fence would be running along the side at the same plane as the ones across the street, but it would jog in for the home behind it, because the home
Right.
behind it has a wood fence on the build line.
So the rationale last week, where we talked so long and we approved that, was because those houses were back to back. This house across the street, the house behind it has the fence off inset. So like, that's why I said, I can't come up with a rationale in my mind to approve this one for me. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at.
Yeah, I can't either.
And I don't believe they'll build a fence 2 feet off the house, but I understand why you said that.
Now that you're done, we got the exhibit up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the
Okay,
exhibit up there just shows the fence a little bit further back.
Right.
What I was trying to show is that
Yeah.
it could actually come to the full front of the property.
The red line could continue to.
Yeah, it could continue down
Yeah.
the build line,
Bottom.
creating kind of a wall of wood
Yeah.
fencing versus the more aesthetically appealing open fencing.
But
And,
it's a corner lot, though.
yeah.
Corner
Yeah, but
lot,
the-
so it could still go on.
It's the build line.
The build line.
It can, to the build line, so the house foundation is 2 feet
I know.
off the build.
I understand
So,
that.
you know, the practicality, they would probably cut it to the back corner like the other side.
Right, right.
Makes more sense.
Yeah,
But the house behind it is on the red line, if it continued
Yes.
straight back.
yes.
yes,
Right.
that's
Just to
correct.
make sure.
The house behind it is actually pretty much on the build line. It's a little
Okay.
bit wider.
Got it.
And it just, this
Yeah.
particular plan's a little unusual. It's not quite to the build line, so it creates kind of an odd, kind of no
Yeah.
man's land there,
Yeah.
where you could put the fence there, but it's
Yeah.
very close to the
Yeah,
home.
it's odd. Yeah, I drove out there and took pictures this time, so I have them on my phone so I could see all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually was a little surprised, I mean, you know, in the discussion last time, I had the picture, and you'd made the comment, well, this is all kind of stuff is done, and the implication was there's more out there that violates the ordinance, and actually, I only saw one. And I drove around the whole neighborhood, looked at all corner yards, including the part on the plat that you don't, not plat, but the development plan that you don't show. I guess are a little larger lots to the north, but it's part of this. It's all part of this. All of those are done right. I just found one, not, you know, not counting, I think, the ones that we approved last time, which were that wasn't right, that wasn't according to the ordinance. So it's not that, and Tammy, you said when y'all went out there, yeah, it's all over the map, but it's really not all over the map. It was fairly consistent, I thought.
I didn't say
Yeah,
that.
there are at least a couple in the section between ours and one across, I think that we showed some pictures of.
Yeah, I mean, I looked and took pictures of all of them, so I would know, you know.
Okay.
But anyway, for me, everybody can speak for themselves. On this one, I can't vote for it. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, first reading, we're not gonna vote, but
No
I
vote
want you to
tonight.
know.
No.
So just a quick question, what is in that back corner? Is that a patio or is that inside of the house?
Yes, it's a patio. It's an open patio, so it's open on the side and the rear.
Okay,
So if you wanted privacy fencing there, the privacy fencing would basically be abutting the side of that patio.
Yeah, you can see the corner's open, right?
Yes.
The outside?
that's what I thought, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
You're talking about within the red, is that correct?
Yes,
The red area?
some of the corner.
Yeah, the one that's protruding down here?
The top of the arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right there.
Yeah,
That's
that right there.
patio.
I see what you're
That's
saying,
an
Chuck.
open
You're
patio.
saying that's an open patio.
That's an
open
I
Yes.
understand. So that's why that fence would come.
Where
Yeah,
is-
right.
What is he
I
talking
It
got
makes sense.
Yeah,
The black right
Okay.
here. Yeah, you got it.
I got you.
Okay.
Okay,
I misunderstood.
very good.
And so that may also be a reason that the red,
Yeah,
the fence does continue to the edge of it, so you
Yeah.
can put some
Sure.
landscaping in that
Yeah.
foot or two to buffer it.
Yeah, you
blocks
would
it, yeah.
definitely, I don't know of any houses out there that don't cover the outdoor patio area. So
Yeah.
it would be logical to cover the outdoor
Sure.
patio area.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, what I'm saying is, it's logical to build the fence on the red line because it gives you a foot or two off the concrete that you may be able to
Yeah.
put some
Plant,
vegetation in to get a little
Yeah.
color and to buffer it a bit.
Yeah, on the ones that are actually to the build line, you may have seen a couple of those out there. The fence is literally tacked onto the side
Right.
of the patio. 'cause
like the
there's
house
really
behind this.
no room past the build line.
Right,
This one just happens to have a little more.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, well, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right.
I'm going to open a public hearing. Public hearing is open. I have no cards. Anyone wish to speak? See no one indicating that, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. First reading, so we don't vote tonight. Move to agenda item 6D. This is first reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2130, consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard on Lot 54, Block 5, Creekside at Colleyville, Phase 3, located at 3913 Lambrusco Lane, case ZC 20-014.
All right, thank you. This will be the second one within the Creekside neighborhood. I'll go through this pretty quickly. So it's pretty close. It's that middle star that you saw in that past exhibit.
Yeah.
And here's some perspectives. So this one is, I guess, to the rear of it is one of the entrances into the subdivision off of Cheeksbarger. And as part of the subdivision, there were some walls that were constructed. And that back wall was actually identified as part of basically a subdivision wall. And you can see in this photo that there was an extension along Valmer as well. But that section was removed in order to have access to the property so they can start building the house. And what their intent is to basically go back in that same location with a wrought iron fence. So rather than the solid wall, it'd be a wrought iron fence proposed. This is pretty much very similar history as you saw in the last case. And again, it is under the corner side yard regulation is what they're requesting to, through the special use permit process. And so this is the site exhibit. In this case, it'll be approximately 10 feet from the property line.
Mhm.
And I think the photos tell the story a little bit better. So these are some photos provided by the applicant. And what you're seeing on that left photo is looking towards the rear of the lot. And so that's that existing subdivision wall that remains. And where you see the green line, that's where the other section of the wall previously existed that they took down so that they can access the lot. And that is where they're proposing a wrought iron fence at the green line. The red line identifying where the required 15-foot setback is. And staff went out and took some further photos to identify what's happening out there. As you saw in the aerial photo, and as you can see in these photos, there are also 4 trees that were installed by the subdivision, and those are to remain. And so this gives you some of the perspectives. That photo on the right is looking from front to back. Obviously, the one on the left is looking closer to the back. And this is looking the other way, so at the other end of that lot boundary. And you can see the existing wall there on the photo on the right.
Mhm.
And again, proposing a wrought iron fence there along that boundary. And this is looking south into the lot. That's the existing wall there. So they're proposing again to have a wrought iron fence basically tied into that existing wall to kind of square it off
Yeah.
more than anything else.
So that was a subdivision wall they took down. Was that part of the PUD?
It actually is not identified on the
Okay.
exhibit.
You answered my
To
question.
be yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how it got constructed. It was before my time, but it was there.
It's the
Now that
wa-
they've taken it down.
Is the wall that's still there coming down the entrance road as shown on the exhibit?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's
And
still
that's
there.
this that you see there.
Okay,
And that was identified on the PUD exhibit as far
yeah,
as what the
okay, so
subdivision
the one they took down was not.
was not,
So it didn't have the approval to be there.
right.
Because I was gonna say, why don't they just put it back?
Right.
And if
Is that
was
why
the
it was
case, we
taken
wouldn't be
down?
here.
Huh?
So they could access the lot.
Well, but you wouldn't have
Oh.
to, you don't have to take that down to access that lot. I mean,
So why was it?
She said they did have to put the brick on the house,
Just to make it easier.
so there wasn't room
no,
between.
well, go back to the picture on the left. or of
It
the
looks to
other
me
picture.
like there was room.
Yeah, go back to the picture that you're, the side,
Yeah.
the other one, that one right there.
Now, there's plenty of room.
There's plenty of room.
There's 4 feet,
Yeah.
5 feet, I don't know.
So, I mean, it
6
seems
feet.
like
Covered up.
Yeah, it doesn't
it was probably taken down as a preference issue,
different.
Yeah.
not necessarily as a necessity.
Yeah, that's
I'll
what I
let the
think too. And also, if you look across the street in this view that we see now, the subdivision fence that goes down the opposite side of that street, entrance street, stops short
Yeah,
of this one.
it does.
And so, in fact, where the fence could go legally, I mean, within the current ordinance, it would make those two fences end about the same. I took pictures of that from those angles.
What is
So-
the house across the entrance street that's also on the corner? What do the fences look like there? Where it's got the masonry wall also coming in,
Not built yet,
not built yet?
no house, but it does have the masonry wall that's part of that subdivision fence come up on the side, but it stops short.
You can see where it
Yeah, you
stops
can
at.
see it up on the right top.
It's the
About 25 feet,
And it stops short, I
Yeah.
think, because that house will face that other street.
yeah.
Okay.
That's why I think, yeah.
Yeah, it'll face Falmar.
Anyway, okay. Any other question for Ben?
No, thank you.
You know, it doesn't have anything to our agreement, but the way they took that wall down,
Yeah.
there's some brick. Show us a picture that looks into that corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked like a prefab type.
Yeah, it is prefab,
Post.
but it's,
Yeah.
go back. No, so
That one,
right there,
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
left, it looks really, a really bad job.
Well, that's where they took out that panel,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
or they, you're right, they took the panel
Panel
out
out,
and
yeah.
it doesn't look good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, we have your card, but you may speak.
Cheryl Turner, 5835 Shoreside Bend,
Yeah.
Irving, Texas.
You need to speak towards the mic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, so there's kind of an unusual history about this house and this lot. Originally, this house was sold as a build and as a custom build, and the plan that was supposed to be on this lot was wider. So the original plan that was to be on this lot actually we could not brick it. The wall was taken down, and then that customer busted out, decided they didn't want to purchase, so we sat on it for a while trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
And we decided to create more usable yard by putting a different plan on there that had a jut in. So if you look at the plot plan, you can see that this house actually goes straight back, and it would have been very close onto the build line, and then it turns in and goes back down. And that's why it looks like it has more room now. But originally, this was not the plan that was going to go on this lot, and was not the first plan that we submitted for permit on this lot. We had intended to build something else if we had not, if the customer had not canceled the sale. So that kind of explains the history of why
Well,
it happened.
I mean, I got a picture of that house. It looks like that wall is flat. I don't see a jut. Is that what you mean?
No, the house itself. So the house, if you look, the
It's
side of the
not
house,
straight back.
it goes out, it turns, and it comes back.
Wait, you passed it. Go back. Mark, was that you?
And
You
it
got the
creates
actual-
just a little bit more room there, so that, this house is not on the build
got the
line
site
like the
plan.
other one would have been.
Go to
Yeah.
the site. Then you had it, right there.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So as far as preference goes, I mean,
Mm.
we would have no reason to look a gift horse in the mouth and take down an existing masonry wall unless we really had to. It's a huge expense to us both to take it
Yeah.
down and to have to replace it. So we had no incentive to take it down, and we certainly weren't looking for the opportunity to remove a wall that we could have already put in our budgets as being built and move on down the road. So, so just to kind of give some history there. You know, in a perfect world, that wall would still be there. So we wouldn't have to be here today. But the plan was to go back and tie into the existing spot and then to finish out and face the open column that you saw that looks rough and is missing a panel. So we would finish out, reface that, and then take the wrought iron fencing along, leaving all the trees to the benefit of the community on the outside of the wrought iron fencing, and thereby just kind of finishing off. I actually think at the end it does look better. That wall was a little odd. I don't know the history of it.
Yeah.
It was before my time too, as far as the development of that. The wall itself, there's really not anything else like that in Creekside where you have kind of a wall that kind of turns and comes up a secondary street. So I'm not really sure what the intention was of putting it there, but for whatever reason, it ended up there and we ended up with it. And, but I do think the wrought iron fencing is going to be a much more attractive look than having that kind of imposing wall there on a street where it really didn't seem to belong.
So is there an HOA? Is there an HOA out there?
There is, it's builder controlled right now.
Yeah. So that land that's between where the fence was and the street, is that HOA property where the
No,
trees are?
it's still this owner's property. In
really?
Creekside, really, the owners go all the way to almost all the way to the street.
Okay.
I think it's about midway through the sidewalk is where the property line is.
For this one,
Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's not technically HOA property, but in Creekside, the HOA maintains all the front and side yards. So the HOA, it does maintain those trees.
Does not?
It does maintain those trees.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they mow the grass and maintain any of the landscaping that's in the front or the sides of the houses.
Of all the houses?
Yes,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Okay.
yeah. It's part of the, probably the biggest part of the HOA dues in Creekside
Sure.
is front yard
Okay.
maintenance.
Yeah, you'd think
Okay.
so.
How far up is the iron rod fence meant to come along the side of the house?
We'd like to bring it to 10 feet back from the face of the house, which is the typical standard there.
Is there a picture of that, Mark? I don't know, I just don't remember.
I think
Thank
I've
you.
marked it, yeah.
Thank you.
And actually, it's probably slightly less than, it's slightly more than 10 feet back, just because of the way that juts out a little bit, and you wouldn't want to put the fence right there.
Is that the
You'll put a
entrance?
gate.
Is that like the porch or something?
No,
No.
that's just a side
A
yard.
side, okay.
Yeah, there's really nothing on
It's your
that
garage,
side
isn't
yard.
it?
The garage is in the front.
Yeah, right.
So how far would that be from the edge of the sidewalk?
From the edge of the sidewalk,
Yeah,
10 feet, it says.
well, I don't
Oh,
know if that's.
no, that's the property line.
property
that's
line.
the maintenance easement, let's see.
Yeah.
It would be 8 feet, probably off the sidewalk.
Okay.
They've
Well,
got those, yeah.
it
they've
can't
got
Now,
be eight.
unfortunately, I didn't mark the sidewalk on this.
I don't think it
exactly
can be
where it
8
is,
feet
but-
because it's only 10 feet from the property line, right?
Well, there's those big trees between the sidewalk and where that masonry wall was.
Mhm.
Yeah. So go back to the
The
picture.
photo that shows
Yeah,
the
the
line is
picture may,
probably the best way to see that.
That one.
That one.
yeah.
yeah.
So, in this picture to the left, I think it looks like to me that where the fence was at the edge of the dirt.
Yeah,
edge
I
of the
think so.
grass.
Yeah, the old fence
That's maybe
was
10
on
feet
the,
or so. 10
between
or
the
11.
house and the trees. So it was
Yeah.
just, the trees basically lined the fence.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what I'm
I
saying,
understand.
where the dirt, that shadow, I guess, it looks like grass.
That's where they
That's about
took it
where it
out,
was.
probably, yeah.
It does make some sense as a consideration
Yeah,
to almost turn the wall to the back of the house and then turn either back with the wall or the gate to come up against the house, but not alongside the house. Or to, at the wall, remove a portion or panel
yeah,
to then line up with the house, because it would look better to finish it and wrap it
yeah,
and butt it up against the brick house, whether it be at the build line or whether it be in that side yard with the special use. Not continuing, of course, along the side of the house. But,
Yeah.
just to finish off that corner, even though it's different than the other corner,
yeah.
it would match nicely against that house. Just look cleaner.
Yeah. Yeah, and the difference of this one and the others we talked about, there is a little bit more space between the
There's a lot more s-
sidewalk and where even that old fence.
There's a lot more space, yeah.
Which gives a better aesthetic
Mhm.
to have some green belt there.
Jerry, I just want to make sure I understand what you're describing. Are you describing the iron rod fence coming up from where the original, or the original masonry line? Or are you describing something different?
I'm almost saying that you'd be better off with the masonry wall turning the corner, and then, and it could turn the corner either cut back to the house, to the build line, or as it ends right now, continuing, I guess that would be westbound until the edge of the house, and then turning up against.
And
the
connect
house.
to the house, yeah.
Yeah,
So what he's talking about would give them an enclosed little backyard.
Yeah,
At the back edge of the house.
But it
with
would look-
masonry, yeah.
But it would look clean because you wouldn't have that transition from the masonry to the wrought iron back to the masonry of the house. You'd have.
It would look like it was originally, designed that way.
Yes.
Well, you could even put a wrought iron, if you wrap the wall masonry and then wrought iron to the back of the house. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you could,
Yeah.
because there'd be a gate there or something,
Yeah,
that makes
you gotta
sense.
have a
Yeah,
gate.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it would just look cleaner from the street when you drove by. But again, that's, you could do that either way. You could do it in the side yard setback, so from the existing end of the
Yeah.
wall, or you could cut back the wall, and of course, then you wouldn't need any special use and continue. But I think the wall benefits the look more than the
Yeah.
wrought iron does it.
So, so I could see this argument. So that wall that's there now is on the PUD. It's allowable because
It
it was
is.
part of the PUD. So where it ends, he's saying extend, I mean, so that you could make a rationale that, okay, since that's part of the PU, it goes that far, let it come out into the side yard,
Right.
and then
Connect over to the
terminate though
house.
at the edge of the house and go over to the house with a wrought iron fence.
Yes.
That, you understand what I'm saying?
Is that different than, can we put up the
You would just put it,
graphic again?
Yeah, so in this picture, see where the green line is and that 10-foot mark is?
Mm-hmm.
Take that, what Jerry's saying, let that be masonry, just like that other wall, up to the edge of the house.
And then turn it back.
And then turn back to the house, and that turn back could be, you gotta have a gate there.
could be wrought iron.
Could be wrought iron. See what we're, yeah,
In that area right there.
And then the other piece then is actual, that's wall, yep.
yeah,
That looks like it's about 10 feet also.
yeah,
So you could have 10 feet of wrought iron with a gate.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
the idea being then they have the somewhat bigger yard,
Yeah,
but it looks like it's consistent as part of the original plan.
So I think the concept of tying into the existing wall, bringing it down to the edge of the house, I think that works.
yeah,
To the extent, at least for us, that it's wrought iron, since we certainly hadn't planned on building a masonry wall
Yeah.
here and aren't required to do that. But we would be willing to consider the idea of just taking it to the corner as a compromise here.
okay.
So you're saying the same layout, but instead of being masonry, it'd be wrought iron?
Yeah, it'd be wrought iron. We would tie into the existing wall, but we would just stop it at the corner of the house.
Right,
Okay.
so think about that. We've
Yeah.
got another,
We would be
we'll
willing to
vote
do
on this
that.
next meeting, so.
Yeah, I don't know that there's honestly much to be gained on the side.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't bother me too much. It's
Yeah.
really more the getting
Yeah.
the
getting it
extension
around.
of the backyard
Yeah.
area that's gonna be
Yeah.
the most material to whoever does buy that house.
Yeah,
Well, and stopping
Okay.
5 feet on that wall doesn't make any sense anyway.
yeah,
Yeah,
It looks strange.
okay,
all right.
Thank you.
all right, pretty
Thank
good.
you.
I need to have a public hearing. Public hearing is open. I have no other cards. Anyone wish to speak on this item? See no one indicating that, so I'll close the public hearing. So again, this is first reading, no action tonight. So we'll vote next meeting, so we'll move to agenda item 6E. 6E is reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2131, consideration of a special use permit for a fence to extend into the required street side yard on Lot 3, Block 7, Creekside at Colleyville, located at 3509 Valmore Avenue, case ZC 20-016.
All right, so this is the final case within this
Right.
subdivision. Again, SUP for, at least for the time being. All right, so this is on the opposite corner, so we just heard 3913 Lambrusco, so this is across the street at 3509 Valmer. So here's an aerial photo of the site. So this does have an existing solid fence that is at the setback. So it is in compliance, and what they are requesting is to extend that portion out to be on top of a retaining wall that exists on their property.
How high is the retaining wall?
I think the applicant has that answer for you, if that's okay.
Okay,
Did not look at that data. But what I've done on this exhibit, you see in the green, that's pretty much the extent of what they're asking to encroach into the setback. It will be approximately 10 feet from the property line. Again, they're requesting to put that solid wood fence on top of the retaining wall that exists. So here's a photo from the applicant. You can see that there is that retaining wall along the entire boundary. And I've tried to highlight in the yellow lines up against the fence itself, that's the extent of what they're asking to extend out to be on top of the retaining wall.
okay.
So, the first picture you should, show us the first picture you showed us. before that? Was maybe, okay, I got
So
you.
it's currently,
actually,
it
it's
currently
currently, yeah.
stops
I-
at the house, right?
Yeah,
Right, it's.
And
it
they want
ties
to
right
pull
into
it
the
out.
house. Yeah,
What, 5 feet or so?
exactly.
Wait, Ben,
Six.
can you go back to the dates?
Yeah, so this house has been constructed for a while, and so they built a fence in compliance,
yeah.
a solid fence in compliance. So now they're asking it to.
So
see if
they're
they can
asking
extend
for
that
the
out.
solid fence to be moved
A
out?
solid
Mhm.
fence.
We haven't done any solid fences like that. Just saying.
Okay,
You're gonna go back to the
Understand.
pit, yeah.
And so Ben, what are the gain? Is it 5 feet?
Yeah.
Approximately 5.
6 feet or,
6 feet by what length?
I did a really rough estimate. I think it was about 15 feet long.
Yeah.
So again, some photos provided by the applicant. So those ones there on the right-hand side, you can see it's really just extending that out to the top of the retaining wall. That is the request. that we
Okay, got it.
So here's some photos that we took. You can see it does have the retaining wall, so there's
Mhm.
maintenance issues and
Yeah.
security, safety issues as well.
I don't agree with that.
It's not
however,
very high.
I hear you, yeah.
We did send notices out, did not receive any responses back,
Okay.
one way or the other. Staff recommends denial, as it does not meet the technical requirements, but the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval, vote of 4-2. And
Okay.
the applicant is here to answer any questions.
Okay, very good.
I'll go back to the photo.
The applicant may speak if you'd like to, yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Amish Patel, 3549 Velmer Avenue, Colleyville.
Welcome.
So all I'm requesting, sir, right now, there's already an existing fence.
Mhm.
So the patio and the fence, the distance is only 6 inches. There's a gas line, I cannot even do an outdoor kitchen because
Can
of
you,
fire hazard.
sir, can you get a little closer to that microphone? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry,
Just pull it down a little bit, if you would.
sure.
There you go.
But-
Thank
okay.
you.
So the fence as it is sitting right now is only 6 inches from the patio.
Mhm.
And there's a gas line on the left-hand side. We cannot even do an outdoor kitchen or anything if we want to. The retaining wall already has those sleeves or piers, whatever you call it, to pull those poles.
Mhm.
All I'm requesting is just move whatever is already installed.
Yeah.
Only that portion to be moved
Mhm.
onto the retaining wall, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't want to extend all the way or nothing.
Yeah, I understand. The challenge we face is we worry about consistency. And out in this neighborhood, there's a number of houses that have a situation like you have. And so we have to consider, or I'll speak for myself, that if we allow someone, in this case, you're requesting it, to go outside of the ordinance to do something unusual, then we're gonna have all the other people coming in and asking for the same thing. So we really think about that, and I've been doing this a long time, I've seen that happen many times. And so that's and I'll speak for myself, that's my primary concern over doing this one. I appreciate you don't want to extend it all the way down, but that's my concern.
I appreciate that, Mayor, but I think, okay, I'll put this now. I always wanted to move to Colleyville to purchase my home. Even though when I moved to Houston, I was like, no, I'll stay here.
Great.
But what I observed, again, that Colleyville, this part of Colleyville is like towards the end, I think, right? Or is the border or whatever you call it.
Yes, border, correct.
And of course, when I walk into the neighborhood, I see that there is not consistency right now. And that's why I think anybody from planning and zoning or whatever, they need to go and check. I was looking at the previous applicant or whatever
Yeah.
she presenting. Those 2 lots, they have a water and fence right in front of me, and now there's a debate of denying this one. So there is inconsistency as well, but I'm seeing all that too.
Yeah.
And what I'm proposing right now is nothing out of norm.
Mhm.
In fact, I have talked to a few people. I know you send circulations, but we gather in the community and we talk. I says, yeah, that's perfect. That's what you need, because right now, my backyard is only 10 feet. I can't even put a pool for my son.
Yeah.
All my lot is going into the retaining wall, into the curb.
Mhm.
So on this massive home, I can even use my backyard. I can even do an outdoor kitchen. And I think that's why we have these specialist permits to accommodate
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Instead of going black in it, there's some gray areas, and I think that's where your expertise comes in, and y'all can find a way and accommodate that.
There is a lack of consistency, not completely inconsistent, but I agree with you. That was beyond our control of these people up here right now. We work real hard to drive consistency.
that's-
You said you can't do an outdoor kitchen. Do you have a patio back there and back there?
Right there is the patio. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
that gray?
Why can't you do an outdoor kitchen on your patio?
Because the fence is sitting 6 inches. There's a
But-
gas line right there. I can't put a fire hazard, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, are you saying you can't access the gas line?
the gas line is right next to the wooden fence. You see that, it's
Right.
only 6
Can you
inches, even
point
though
it
it's
out?
owned,
Is it
it's
Where
only
the
6.
hole is?
Sorry, ma'am?
No. Where is that gas line? Can you,
So it's inside that.
oh, inside of the fence?
Yeah. Right there with the small opening of 6 inch, that's what it is.
I'm sorry, the top picture you're talking
I
about?
think the right
The one in
picture.
this one, sir.
To the right.
The right
Right.
picture?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
inside.
Say it's inside that
Yeah,
fence.
inside. And
Yeah.
the left also, you'll see where the line is, but on the right hand side, that's the gap I have, 6 inches, and that's where the gas line is.
Oh,
So the patio is sitting right here, and the fence is right sitting in the face. Even if you put your sofa and sit
Oh,
there,
the gas line is in the wall of your house, maybe? A house, the gas line mounted. I was thinking it was in the ground or something.
no, it's not in the ground, it's on the side of the wall, sir.
Oh, the side of the wall, okay,
Side, but it's enclosed in that fence.
yeah. Only reason I'm asking this, I mean, can't you have someone extend that line out to a point where you can access it?
You can access, but you cannot, I don't know, how can you put any equipments or whatever? It's only 6
I-
inches.
Well, I'm thinking about putting something on your patio. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Where do you want your
Yeah.
Maybe
kitchen?
we can put on patio, but will that still extend out 6 inches, wooden, fire, is that not a hazard? It's only 6 inches, the difference is, I mean, the space is 6 inches, even if you sit, let's say put outdoor kitchen on side, even if you sit on that patio, that fence is sitting right in front of you. And I mean, these are huge, these are not huge lots, and we don't
Yeah,
have any
no,
extra
right,
space.
yeah, and that's the
If you go in
challenge,
my
that's the
backyard-
challenge right there, yeah,
I hardly have little bit room to walk.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why you guys, I mean, you are experts here and you can make it work. I know you said you cannot go with this inconsistent with the community, but it's nothing that,
So let me ask you a question.
yes, sir.
So if we allow you to do this,
Uh-huh.
and the other people, your neighbors that have the same situation, and they come in and ask for the same thing, what would we tell them? What would you think?
So again, as far as, I'm not, again, I don't know much drawings or architect, but I
Yeah.
know that there's already a wrought iron fence approved for my property, and it goes into the sidewalk, which I'm not going to use because there's a retaining wall and there's a safety hazard and all that. So that
Yeah.
part of land, what is sold to me is useless.
Yes,
And answering to your question, I think it should, because these residents or us, I mean, these is our dream homes.
yeah,
We have put in
Yeah.
our lifelong savings into this. And just
Yeah.
because of this small thing, if you are not, then
Yeah.
it just hurts.
yeah, I understand, but hi Shirley.
It's okay.
Last meeting, we talked for a long time about all of these in general, because we had, how many did we deal with? 3, and we're dealing with 3 tonight. So we ended up talking about all of them. And one thing we were very consistent about, we said, we did approve a wrought iron fence on the wall in a situation where the house behind it already had it. So there's nothing we're gonna do about that. And so for consistency and aesthetics, we allowed the applicant that was in front of us to do the same thing, put a wrought iron fence on the wall. But we made it very clear, and you weren't here, you didn't hear this. Made it very clear, we will put no wooden fences out there. Won't happen. Won't happen. And so I just wanted you to be aware
So
of
there will
those
be no
conversations.
wooden fence on the retaining wall or
Yep.
not on the side?
Either.
Well, there's already one. There's already, I already have on the side a wooden
No,
fence. All I'm trying to
and
do is
your,
extend-
and yours is, well, you're allowed on the side as long as it, at the build line. So it appears that yours is there or very close.
All right.
There's not, it's not down the side of your house because the ordinance didn't allow that. So that's why it was built that way.
So.
And
the
there's
reason I'm
others,
saying,
there's
sir-
others out there built that way also.
The reason I'm saying, sir, if I put a clear fence, there are 4 homes sitting in, they're watching me in my backyard.
Yes.
And there are glass doors, so the layout of this is patio, and then you have glass doors. So my kitchen, living room, everything is exposed.
Yeah. Understand.
Everything is exposed, even if I put a clear fence instead of
Yeah.
wrought iron fence instead of that.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's why that's
Whole house is
solid.
exposed.
Yeah, yeah,
And there are huge homes, 4 homes sitting right in,
yeah,
across from me.
yeah.
Yeah, we know.
I think you wanted to say something?
you.
You were-
Yes.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Good evening, everyone. When we.
We can't,
We
excuse
still
me,
can't
I
hear
you.
can't hear you.
Little
Pull
closer.
it
Yeah.
down a little bit.
Okay.
There
You have
you
to
are.
speak up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, there was the whole intention that we would be having a kitchen, and that was the reason, because we compromised with the lot.
Yeah,
That, okay, we'll get small backyard, nothing, we can't even do a pool, but at least we can do a small kitchen and then we can enjoy.
yeah,
And we did not realize the importance until COVID, because I was traveling, there was no time for us. And I was like, okay, what can we do here now? So that prompted us to apply
yeah,
for this.
I understand.
What happened in this morning, like pest control guy came to my house, and I request him to do something on the top, and he said exactly there, like, no, I cannot do it anything because there is a safety issue, because if I reach by there, what if I fall down? It's all your fault. So I was
There's
like,
no space.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So he didn't do it.
yeah, yeah.
And we can, as you said, Mayor, that you will not allow the rod, I mean, you only allow this clear fence, but again, those 4 homes are sitting.
I understand.
And even if I put a,
Yeah.
what do you call those, grass shrubs,
Mhm.
but they're sitting from the 2nd story, and it's all going into my home, patio, living room, and dining room, and everything is exposed.
Are you the original owners? Did you build the house you purchased? Okay.
Yes,
So,
after we canceled that.
So here's a long story. I mean, I hope we have time. We started this home and all that, 2017. 2017 we started, and in 2018, we were about to close, and the builder says, okay, your home is, now your fence is sitting like this. I said, I cannot do that. So I did not sign. We backed up from the contract, and then I had come to city and says, we had put actually we designed, we did everything, we spent so much time, our heart and soul into this. And she did not want to let go. I says, no, we have to have that. I said, okay, so let's go to city if there's an alternative. And then we found out that you can at least put a wrought iron fence all the way to the sidewalk, which I'm not exposing. I want that area to be free and clear so everybody can enjoy, even though it's my property. But at least if we can accomplish just a small kitchen with just extending this 4 feet, only the existing fence, that's okay. So that's when we agreed, okay, later down the road we'll do it, and then that's why we bought the house. And again, talking to that mayor, the lot behind me is empty. There's no,
Yeah.
Yeah, we see that.
there's nobody there.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I still don't understand your gas situation. Do you
I didn't
understand?
either, but between,
Can you bring us pictures
Sure.
next time, because
So I'll tell you, sir. That 6-inch you see on the, well, let's see here, the first picture.
Yeah.
Use that small opening, there's a metal pipe that you can hardly see that pipe.
yeah, I
Are
see
you
the
talking
pipe.
Right
about the
there
red,
on that
the
side.
red
That's the
line
fence
there?
post, right?
And
That's the fence post.
Right, so right next to that is attached to the building, and there's a gas line
Gas line
Oh, right.
towards the
okay.
building?
connection. Yeah.
Why couldn't and again, it's just a curiosity, why couldn't the outdoor kitchen be in the,
behind it.
behind it?
Yeah, I mean,
Or to the right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
what we're struggling with, I think we don't understand you're telling us you can't access the gas line, and we haven't comprehended.
No, it's not about, I don't know, if a professional might come, he might do it, I guess, I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm not plumber, so they might come and dig or do whatever and make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So, first of all, that fence is right in front of my face, 6 inches.
We know,
So
yeah,
what
we
the
see
city
that.
manager was getting ready to say, you have a patio, and between the back of your patio, and I assume there's a fence in the back? There a fence in the back of?
Yes, it's sitting on the retaining wall.
Yeah, and so isn't there room back there to put a,
That's what I'm saying, sir, we only have 8 feet.
8
That is
feet?
the only area I have, because this side we have trees,
Yeah,
and I
but
couldn't even access that.
I understand, but you said a while ago you'd like to have a pool, you can't, so y'all said, well, maybe we can have we want an outdoor kitchen. And so
Sure.
you're saying we can't do it because the fence is too close, but really you could put the outdoor kitchen in your backyard, correct?
We would utilize the space over there, because I do not have extra space.
Well, I know, but you could do that. If your
Yeah, but I
priority
would
is
rather
outdoor
have that
kitchen-
space where at least I have some gathering or whatever, sitting or what together, at least you have 10, 15 people, I can make them sit there. If I use this,
I-
there's, yeah.
Yeah,
The outdoor kitchen.
well, I understand what you just said, but it appears to me you do have an option to get an outdoor kitchen. I mean, you do have an
Well,
option of.
it's an
place-
expense again we have to incur now because it's grass.
Yeah,
So I don't know, I mean, if we do that, because I'm losing that space, I want to utilize, because I don't have any space anyways.
so basically your argument really is I want that space, I want
Just
that.
3, 4
space.
feet,
Right,
that's it.
okay,
And there are already sleeves and piers there, it's
Yeah.
not that,
I understand. Okay, we understand that.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
No cards.
I'm going to open the public hearing. We have no cards. Anyone else wish to speak? Only one person. I don't think you do. Unless you tell me you do. I see no one wanting to speak. I'll close the public hearing. First reading, so it'll be on the agenda next time, in which we'll vote next meeting. Okay.
What do you say?
I asked a question, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You had a question? Answer, okay. All right, we'll move to agenda 6F. 6F is reading in public hearing of ordinance O-20-2132, consideration of amendments to Chapter 2, Section 2.5 definitions, Chapter 3, Section 3.24B, schedule of permitted principal uses, and Chapter 3, Section 3.24C, special land use standards of the Land Development Code, specifically for the inclusion of massage therapy as a land use and for regulations associated with the massage therapy use.
All right, thank you. So this is a proposed amendment
Yeah.
to the Land Development Code in relation to massage therapy uses. So what I've provided in your packet first includes the proposed definitions for the uses that we're dealing with. The general use is massage therapy. We did identify both licensed and unlicensed. This was just more in an attempt to make sure everybody understands
Different.
really how we're classifying each and every one of these types of uses. So license, obviously, there's licensing that has to be acquired through the state of Texas. And then unlicensed, it does not. One thing that was, this went before the city council during a work session discussion, and one of the things that was discussed was about ancillary type things when you're there, whether the manicurist might massage your hand a little
Yeah.
bit or wrist. And so as far as what massage therapy is, what it is not is when it's associated with those types of barbers, beauticians, and manicurists, where they're just doing the area that's close to either your nails or your hair, and so it's not really the type of massage therapy that that we would really consider. The establishment would just be the location where they are able to operate. And then reflexology, we wanted to make sure that that one was specifically defined. A lot of the uses coming in, they identify on their application for certificate of occupancy that it is reflexology only. And so this would identify the extent of what they are allowed to do under reflexology, and they would not be able to do any other services unless they modify their certificate of occupancy. All right, so those are the definitions. As far as the permitted use chart, previously we authorized these all under day spas. So that would go away, and we would add a new use called massage therapy, and this would be for licensed and unlicensed. And they would require a special use permit in our CC1, CC2, and CC3 districts. And then, as far as regulations associated with these uses, again, there was some conversation at the work session about adding some different provisions. So again, shall comply with these regulations in association with a special use permit unless the city council authorizes or has imposed other requirements necessary in the particular case to protect the public interest. So the first that we proposed was a distance separation between each of these uses of 300 feet. However, there was a conversation about maybe doing more of a saturation type element where you might want to allow or authorize multiple within a shopping center area. And so the exception would be if there are multiple buildings, then you can have at least one in any building regardless of the 300-foot distance requirement. So like at Town Center, they have 4 or 5 different buildings with multiple tenant spaces in each building. If somebody is located in one building, someone would automatically be authorized in an adjacent building, even if they were not 300 feet apart, because we've identified that that is an area that we expect to see our retail and service type uses. And then just some clarification with the certificate of occupancy process. It'll be considered a temporary approval, and any time that they make a change to that certificate of occupancy, so that would be either classification change or use change or even occupant, business name, or business owner, that would require that location to come back for reauthorization of the special use permit.
Ben, before we go forward, on your exceptions in A, should that be at most one massage therapy establishment shall be permitted per building?
I think the reason I kept it at least one is because they may be able to meet the distance requirement. So if we wanted to say only one, then it would make sense to do that. I guess that's my only concern is if they are able to meet the 300-foot separation, still being within the same building, that would prevent that from happening.
So the idea is that if 300 feet is the rule, but if you have a shopping center with 2 buildings that are closer than 300, at least one is permitted in every building.
Right.
And so maybe they want to clarify language a little better, but the intent is that you're not saying that the 300-foot prevails when there's multiple buildings in a center. The multiple buildings in the center could allow for at least one per building. And if the building's more than 300 feet long, you could have 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could have 2 buildings next to each other, massage therapy in one, the next building right next to it, a massage place, and then 300 feet down the line in that same building, another one. And so that's where I think the clustering concept is being avoided, I guess.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we just say that they have to be at least 300 feet apart?
Yeah, and if you do that, just take out the exception, and that would do that.
Yeah.
Yep,
Because otherwise, you're right, they could be right next to each other in
right.
separate buildings. They could be 10 feet apart.
No.
Yeah, and on the
But
end of the building.
he's saying that's okay if they're in separate buildings.
That's why I'm saying, I don't think we want that. I think we want them to be 300 feet apart.
Well,
Why
and I
not?
think, let's say we got to a situation where we had a definite area where they were clustering because they were complementing other businesses. You know, you had just this unique area. You could create a special, condition as part of your special use, or you could even, if there was really a need for it, create a special zoning class. But for now, you're probably better off taking the more restrictive approach because of the unfortunate abuses in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's my point.
I think I'd be much more comfortable without the exception.
What do you mean?
So take that exception out for the multiple buildings.
And just let them,
Just leave
let
it
it
300
be
feet.
300 feet apart. That's my point, too.
Yeah.
I agree.
What's the problem we're trying to solve?
The massage therapy or businesses
Yeah.
were not having to go through a process that required them to come to the council and explain their business, and they could change ownerships very easily, and there was no regulation watching over that. And so this process takes them into a approval process that's much more stringent and a review of any changes that they,
So you're
Undertake.
saying they could get a CO from staff without ever coming to council? And the
Yes.
staff was obligated to give it to them, and there was not clear definition? I mean, it's such a, a very broad range of what could be asked for. Is that
Well,
basically?
and they were even adding it to existing businesses where it was like, well, we're doing this already, let's add another component. And this now makes it a
Oh,
special
okay.
use where
Okay,
whether you want to do a standalone or you want to do it as part of an existing business, it brings it through a process, which for the legitimate operators is a bit arduous, but they'll understand because it protects the problematic businesses from hurting their entire
okay.
business.
So here, so I was getting at the 300 feet. So do we have an issue or a problem now with multiple businesses within 300 feet of each other?
Clustering. Yeah,
Yeah.
clustering, is that the
So,
term?
so to kind of give a picture, we have Elixir that's up here.
Yes.
In this definition, we
Yeah.
could have another one right across the street.
Well, we got several day spa salons things.
Well, but they're more than 300 feet apart. This is giving them the exemption from 300 feet if they're multiple buildings. They're not facing each other.
Yes, but it's
Yeah,
still a
but
special
y'all
use.
want to do away with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was-
wait, at least have them come and get a special request to do it.
Well, that's
I
a
mean, they could
given. No
still
matter
do-
what, they're going to have to do that.
Yeah, but but if, I don't, here's the question. So if you took the exception out and we had a situation where, yeah, somebody came in and, yeah, we want to let them be closer than 300, but the exception wasn't there, could we do it?
We're
Yes.
doing it under an SUP.
Sure.
There's no
SUP,
reason we
right?
couldn't.
Right. That's what the very first part says, unless city council in approving a special use permit has imposed other requirements necessary.
Right,
So
Okay.
it does give you the authorization to reduce that
Okay.
below 300.
but it gives us more control, and they can't just slide in. That's what city manager was just
Yeah. right.
indicating, that these
So-
things were happening and no control.
Yeah, so what then, if we could do it under the special SUP, why did we put what was the rationale for putting the exception in?
It was brought up at the work session to try and accommodate.
Our work
Shopping.
session? Okay.
What about, we have a lot of salon suites in different areas. Would the special use permit apply to the whole salon suite facility?
It depends on how they author or structure their certificate of occupancy. We've seen it to where the salon business owner goes through that process and they're covered. But if they don't do that and each individual
Yeah.
business owner comes in, they each would have to get their own.
Okay, and they're going to be side by side maybe, so we
Right.
have to include in the SUP, it's okay. If you had a business concept where I got one building and I'm going to have multiple therapists
Exactly.
and cubicles,
Right.
then,
And this would be incumbent on the applicant as
Yeah.
part of the SUP process to describe their business, and it would
Yeah.
be completely up to the council.
Yeah.
It seems like a kind of onerous process for, if I'm gonna rent a stall at, a salon suite someplace, and I'm a licensed massage therapist, to spend, I don't know, how long does it take somebody to go through special use? At least a month or two.
Yeah, it is very arduous and it's very unfair to the reputable businesses. The problem is that the less than reputable businesses have become a grand concern that is hurting the entire industry.
Yeah.
And now with the I mean, the nefarious things that are taking place, it's even become more problematic. And the quick way that they change ownership makes keeping track of them very difficult. And so the idea here is that, yes, unfortunately, the legitimate businesses are running through a process, but those who are less than legitimate will hopefully just avoid Colleyville altogether. I mean, it's
I mean,
a sad reality.
what we're talking about here is human trafficking, right?
Well, there's been allegations of that. There's the allegations of inappropriate behavior. There's a
Right.
whole lot of things, and it all unfortunately occurs in a business that, in a business model that otherwise could be very legitimate. And so
Sure.
you have a legitimate business operating next to a fly-by-night, and they're both under the same banner of massage therapy.
I know.
Go back to the definitions a second. Go back to the definitions a second. Yeah. So I was reading this, and I'm gonna have to think about it. It's too late, and I'm not thinking we're gonna. What I'm thinking through and want to be sure that we don't do, I agree with everything you said. We want to manage those that are nefarious. At the same time, we don't want to damage too much the legitimate ones.
Yes.
And so this license, unlicensed talks about what they can do and what it means, and there's a lot of detail in there that I don't have a good grasp of. Yeah, because you were talking about, massaging hands, or I mean, a lot of the, I go get a haircut and they massage my neck, right? And so, just using that as an example, just to try to understand this. So I go to the barber shop and they want to, when I wash my hair, massage my neck. Do they have to, what do they have to do? Do they have to do anything to do that? Or
No.
not?
See, we would argue in that particular case, no.
Just
Okay.
specifically,
Performing a haircut.
it's specifically defined in
Yeah, well, that's,
the red on the bottom there.
okay, barbers are out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Barbers,
don't,
beauticians,
barbers,
manicurists.
beauticians, manicurists,
Right.
okay, that are licensed.
Yep.
Yes.
And as long as it's minimal, so if you're getting a haircut, it's going to be
Massaging
your
neck,
and nothing
face,
more than your
scalp.
neck.
Yeah, okay, so that's what they can do. Now, the other language for licensed and unlicensed, a lot of that language is the same.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it was the unlicensed that.
In fact, the only difference, I guess, is the blue sentence, the first sentence. I mean, the yellow highlighted, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same, one's
Licensed
licensed,
or
one's
un-
not.
Yes. And that was part of the problem. The unlicensed were under the radar a bit and creating the more
Ha-
questionable activities.
Oh, okay, so really, what was going on here? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Any legitimate is gonna be licensed.
Exactly.
Well,
and-
you'd think so, yeah. I mean, would be, but the difference could be like, the licensed could be somebody who is driven by prescription or therapeutic medical requirement,
Yeah.
where an unlicensed could be a reputable business, but be a salon or something like that. So that's the only thing I could see that differentiates them two, but most we would prefer to be licensed, and so.
But each massage therapist has to have a
Yeah,
license, right?
massage therapist has to have a
You
license.
would think so,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah.
But I don't, yeah, you'd want
What
them.
about a
Most do.
chiropractor? Sometimes they do
Whether
massage.
they do or not is a
That's
different-
chiropractor, sure.
Well, anybody performing any activity related to a medical treatment is a different situation. I mean, that's
Yeah, see,
part
it's,
of the
it's that last
medical
sentence.
treatment you're getting. So if a chiropractor adjusted your back, or if you had some type of surgery and you had some physical
see that.
therapy related to
Yeah.
that,
For the highlight,
that's different.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
already
But
in
it's
there.
it's a good question, because that's the kind of things that are always, questionable.
So acupuncture is, reflexology is not, are included, so they're unlicensed. Acupressure, reflexology, acupuncture are unlicensed?
Yes.
But how does that apply to like Dr. Lee over there on 26?
Yeah.
Like, he's an acupuncturist and he,
Yeah,
I mean, so he's gonna have to get a massage therapy?
well, he's a
SUP now?
medical doctor,
I think so.
then he's got a license.
It's already
Well, I would think so, but I mean, I'm just asking because it says
Yeah,
acupuncture here. I just want to
right.
understand.
Yeah, and I don't.
I don't know.
I gotta,
I'm not
I
an
don't know
acupuncturist.
enough about all the businesses to
No,
understand.
and there's one potential you could say that you know, just as a blanket as part of this, at the time of this adoption, all existing are considered existing non-conforming until one of the criteria changes, which is the change of ownership, change of name, whatever, so that those operating businesses don't have to then immediately go through a process, but could if they wish.
Yeah,
You could also waive any fees related to them going through the process, because you don't want to make it
Yeah.
unreasonable to them.
yeah,
But eventually, you want to get to the point where everybody has a special
Yeah.
use and has that limitation, so that you've got a repeated look at the business practices as part of a transfer of ownership or as an operational change.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, you have
and
to.
so, making this as simple as I can, put the definitions back so I can read something. So, we're saying beauticians, barbers, manicurists, you're good. Everybody else may have to go through this eventually, right? I
Yep.
mean, basically, that's what we're saying.
Well, we're going to have to ask them, what's your intended operational use? You know, what is the service you're going to provide? And unless you fall into one of those, then yeah, you have to go through it.
Yeah, right.
And then if you're,
Right.
if you claim you're not doing those things and you're found to be doing those, then you're in
Yeah,
violation of the
right.
ordinance.
And so this cleans up the hole. There is no hole here, because we got licensed, unlicensed. and
We're trying to
y- y-
close it.
So I guess that's what I was thinking about what you asked, Kathy. I mean, eventually, everybody's gonna have to do it unless you're one of those that are excluded.
Well, and I'm trying to think, I mean, I don't know all the different licensing and
right,
stuff,
yeah,
but I mean,
I don't-
like,
I don't
as
know
an
that.
example, I think he has, you know, a
Yeah.
different kind of license, but I'm just trying to think it through, so I understand.
But I understand why we're doing this, the rationale for why we're doing it makes sense.
It's sad, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but-
sad.
And I think the existing non-conforming should give those who are operating now comfort that they can continue to operate without having to fear that the new ordinance immediately ceases their
Yeah.
operation until they get a special use permit.
So I noticed we have a definition of a
Sunset.
massage therapy establishment.
Still registered with the state.
Yeah. It's registered with the state. So I guess you could have establishments that are not that fall under one of these other definitions. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. And I think the other thing you could do is if you, like we just mentioned, the existing non-conforming, you know, the kind of the grandfathering, you continue
Yeah.
on, you could do it a couple ways. One, you could just say, hey, all of those in operation now can continue in operation until they change one of the few criteria, ownership, expand use, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you could say no, or 12 months, whichever sooner. And so that gives
Yeah.
everybody 12 months to
Yeah.
go through the process, so that they've got, and we could waive the fees and all that,
Yeah.
so that there's a process that kind of gets everybody through the
Oh,
system.
okay, so the bottom line, by the time this comes up next meeting and we vote on it, we have to have decided that,
Yes,
the approach we're gonna use.
yes.
Okay. So we gotta be thinking about that. Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? Fine, I'm gonna open a public hearing. Huh?
Sorry, I did have
Sorry.
one comment.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go to your page with the legal nonconforming.
Where I used to work, we were required.
You have that stated as in existence after the effective adoption date. Shouldn't that be before?
Yeah, I'll definitely make that change. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good catch.
Yeah,
Simple thing, but
It's
Yeah,
simple
that's
thing.
great.
and I
It
think
changes
too, in this
everything.
slide,
it just changed the meaning
Yeah,
slightly.
Right,
the section 324C, Schedule of Permitted Uses, implies that we're talking about a permitted use, even though we're talking about a special use, because that's the title of the table.
okay, yeah,
And so it's a weird kind of, you
yeah,
know,
Yeah.
it catches your eye, and you say, oh, we're talking about permitted
Yeah.
uses. No,
yeah,
we're talking about a schedule of permitted uses, and
Yeah.
that's,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's on that schedule that it identifies.
Yeah.
you have
as
this.
so maybe just for the sake
Yeah.
of the slide, puts permitted slash special, or in this case, strike permitted and puts special after it, because it does confuse a little bit, but I understand why it's there.
Yeah.
It's the right way to refer to it.
So do we want to take the exception out or not?
up
I think it should be taken out.
That's fine, I mean, what's
Okay.
y'all's thought?
I tend to agree with George.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it needs to come out.
Okay.
You got
If they're
that,
all
right?
coming for an SUP, we can approve.
yeah, you
But,
could,
yeah.
Well,
because we
you got
still,
that,
we can
Ben?
still do it,
On A?
yeah, yeah,
You could deviate from
I know.
300 feet, you guys,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the special use can
Yeah.
really do whatever you want.
Good.
okay. Very good, So I have opened a public hearing. Okay to go?
Yep.
I have no cards. Oh, I do.
Kathy Hadley, but I think she left.
Kathy Hadley, yeah, she gave up on us. Anyone else wish to speak? No? Have no one want to speak? Public hearing's closed. So we will take this up again next meeting. Move to agenda item 7. We're going to leave those tables because that's, both of those have to do with Bluebonnet. You want to give it?
We had a card from Kathy, but I'll, again,
Yeah.
assume, yeah, I can give.
So for the people watching, Jerry, you want to give a brief, there's been a couple of meetings and kind of a status of where we are on those. Because we've said every time it's going to be on the next meeting, and when we get to the next meeting, we're not quite ready. So give people an explanation that may be watching.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Bluebonnet case, we had a meeting with a large group of the neighbors to the east and had a lot of discussion, basically mostly listened, let them offer comments and concerns. Bluebonnet had a representative on the call, and it was done via WebEx. So there was an exhibit presented and a PowerPoint reviewed. And during that meeting, the residents expressed a lot of concern about privacy and drainage and the elevation changes. Since that time, Bluebonnet has come back with a new exhibit that does show an 8-foot decorative masonry wall at the 10-foot setback. And we had another meeting with some of the immediate neighbors and talked a little bit about that. And I have since corresponded with Bluebonnet again and shared some of that summary with them. And so I've not heard back from them yet today, but I'm hoping I should later this week. And we hope to meet again with the residents, try to better understand their needs, and also work with Bluebonnet to make sure they can clarify some of the concerns that are yet outstanding. And hopefully, I apologize for the delay, but I think we're heading toward a good compromise in the process.
Yeah, I agree. We're iterating to a solution. I think it'll be a real solution.
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. So we'll move to 8A. This is reading and public hearing of Resolution R-20-4522, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, passed pursuant to Section 26.04 and 26.05 of the Property Tax Code of the State of Texas, approving a proposal of the intent to set property tax rate at .310644 per $100 valuation for fiscal year 2021, and providing an effective date. Whereas the tax assessor collector for the City of Colleyville, Texas, has calculated the amount of the no new revenue tax rate and the voter approval tax rate pursuant to Section 26.04C of the Property Tax Code of the State of Texas. Whereas pursuant to Section 26.04E of the Property Tax Code, the said tax rate have been submitted to the City Council, and whereas pursuant to Section 26.05A of the Property Tax Code, a taxing unit other than a water district must adopt a tax rate before the later of September 30 or the 60th day after the date of the certified appraisal roll is received by the taxing unit. And whereas it appears necessary to adopt a tax rate of .310644 per $100 of valuation, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the City Council does hereby, by the approval of this resolution, state its intention to adopt a tax rate for fiscal year 2021 of .310644 per $100 of valuation. The fiscal year 2021 tax rate will be adopted at the City Council meeting to be held on September 15th, 2020. Section 2, that the 2020 tax roll as certified on July 25th, 2020 by the Chief Appraiser of the Tarrant Appraisal District is adopted and the basis for the fiscal year 2021 proposed tax rate. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect from and after the date of its passage, and it is so resolved. Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Kyle Lesser, Finance Director. I'd like to just real quick define what exactly this is we're doing here tonight. It can be a little confusing for anyone not familiar with the process. What we are not doing is we are not adopting a tax rate tonight. I've had that question before. The vote to propose really does two things. The first is that it sets the tax rate setting process in motion. After this, we can publish notices and set hearing dates. And the second thing it does, potentially more importantly, is it sets a maximum rate that we can ultimately adopt in September. So whatever rate we're proposing tonight, that's the maximum rate we can ultimately adopt. You can go lower, but you cannot go higher. Another thing at play here is, you mentioned the no new revenue tax rate. Again, I want to just make sure I define this for anyone who may not be familiar with it. The no new revenue tax rate is essentially a calculated rate that looks at your existing values, the properties that existed in the previous tax year and then the next tax year. From those values, you calculate a rate to where you raise the same amount of revenue in both years, and it takes out any new properties that come on the tax roll. What it does not mean is that any given taxpayer isn't going to have a bill that may be marginally higher than previous years. For instance, we have a large number of exemptions that are new to the tax roll, and therefore our tax base has shrunk a little bit, and therefore we may have some property owners that do have a slightly higher tax bill. So right now, what our tax values have done is they initially came in a little bit higher by about 0.7% from last year. But there are a few things that eat away at that. The first is that our new growth makes up all of that percentage and even more. So the implication is that our existing values, net of new growth, actually went down. We also have a significantly higher number of protests at play right now, which does sort of mess with the calculation. Additionally, we have to factor out our TIF values as well. So once you take all those into consideration, our estimated net taxable value actually decreased by 0.8%, which results in a no new revenue rate calculation that's a little bit higher than our current tax rate. Now, we do have some outstanding questions for Tarrant Appraisal District and the comptroller regarding the calculations and some other data that we're seeing that doesn't quite wash with that narrative. And so we will pursue those questions and make sure that we get those resolved before we actually adopt our rate. But seeing as how we do have a good month and a half before that, staff's recommendation is to go ahead and vote to propose the 0.310644 tax rate, the no new revenue tax rate, with the knowledge that if we resolve some of those issues and that results in a lower necessary tax rate, that we can obviously adopt that instead. With that, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So we had talked about this in our work session, so I won't belabor that. What we did say, and you just summarized it, is in passing this resolution tonight, we would like it to be, we want it clear, or I'd like to make some changes to the resolution to make it clear that the rate, will be a rate, we'll approve a rate, rate at 0.310644 per $100 valuation or less for fiscal
Yes.
year 2021. And in here, I also want to say specifically that this is the no new revenue tax rate for FY 2021.
Yes, sir.
So those points are clear. And I just kind of quickly looked at this WIT, and here would be my suggestions. But up in the top of the resolution, I don't know if you have it in front of you, whereas it's the long statement, a resolution, city council, blah, 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 and the last line, right after 0.310644 per $100 valuation or less for fiscal year 2021. I don't know why we need that last whereas. And then in section 1, I would say that the city council does hereby, by the approval of this resolution, state the intention to adopt a tax rate for fiscal year 2021 no greater than 0.310644 per $100 of evaluation, which is the no new revenue tax rate for FY 2021. So that would make it clear to anybody reading this what's going on.
Yep.
And so, or something like that with whatever that gets those points in there, so anybody reading this is real clear what we're doing, no questions about it.
Put a couple of whereases in so that it sounds legal.
No, I'm saying take one out.
I'm kidding. I know. I thought he'd put a couple more down below.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make,
So any other comments or thoughts or questions?
I think that's what we need, yeah.
Okay.
I want to just make sure that blah, blah, blah is in there too,
Yeah.
so.
And Mayor,
Yeah.
Councilmember Kelly shared an article today where a community was actually passing a resolution for the next 2 years to try and take advantage of the disaster declaration, arguing that they should be able to go, or wanted to reserve the right to go to an 8%
I
increase.
saw that.
And so and so some communities, of course, are having that conversation. It's wonderful, once again, to be having the conversation about the effective tax rate
Yeah.
as a high point that
Exactly.
could actually
Yeah.
be reduced even further. And so it's a great compliment to this council and your leadership.
And staff. I didn't I saw that article, and I read that article and said,
Yeah.
what in the world are they doing? I have
They-
no clue
They
what
said it
they're
was to
talking
recover
about, and
revenue. That was
Yeah,
it.
they're basing it around the fact, or their facts that they are losing revenue based
yeah,
on
but
sales tax and
that resolution means nothing.
The Attorney General, right. and
Nothing.
The Attorney General said that you can't do that for COVID.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be for,
Yeah.
for weather
So
disaster.
my take on that was it was a pure political move
Yeah,
to put citizens on notice that we're going to raise taxes on you.
exactly.
That it had no meaning, it had no meaning otherwise.
exactly.
It was
But that-
crazy.
That just illuminates the
Resolution
fact that
just-
we as a
Yeah.
fiscally conservative council can weather those kind of storms and still look at our effective, as
Yeah.
Jerry said, our effective tax rate as the high water mark.
Absolutely.
That's
But
amazing.
what concerned me about that article, the way that the article was written, of course, it's written by, articles are normally 99.9% incorrect anyway. But it was,
Only 99.9%.
yeah. It-
Blah, blah, blah.
It was written implying to the reader that they had to do this.
Yes.
Yes.
They had to do this to protect the future council decision, which was a bunch of garbage,
Right.
Yeah.
absolutely garbage.
And by the way, the person they quoted is the city manager, not the mayor,
Yes,
not a council person.
so that's what, yes, city manager.
But we have a
I
tremendously,
appreciate our staff,
we have a
yeah.
tremendously better city manager for sure.
Absolutely, we got the best there
Perfect.
is. Yeah.
But it's amazing, they talked about 2 years.
Yeah,
Years, yeah.
why not? Why not 10 years, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so under that theory, are they suggesting that in the second year, they could, if they went with the effective the first year, go with 16%?
Sure.
They could.
Probably. I mean,
And so that's an interesting argument that I'm sure the Attorney General will weigh in on.
yeah,
at
they're
some
gonna get
point.
shot down, I mean, hope tomorrow.
We'll see, but it's an interesting conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Very strange conversation.
Very strange, very strange. Okay, if no other questions, I need to do a public hearing. Public hearing is open.
No cards.
Have no cards? You sure you don't want to speak? Okay. No one wants to speak. I'm closing the public hearing.
Can I
Oh.
make a, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R-20-4522 with the modifications that the mayor made.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Wheat with the second by, who said it?
Tammy.
Councilmember
Tammy.
Nakamura,
Tammy, yeah.
with the changes that the mayor had suggested.
Yes.
And of course, that's perfectly clear to you, isn't it, Whit? There you go. Very good, and, the vote is open.
Great news.
Okay, so the motion is approved, therefore the resolution as amended is approved. Thank you. We're now at citizen comments, agenda item 9, we
I had
have,
a card from Kathy, but she left. Kathy Hadley.
and so, no one wants to speak at citizen comments, and we do not need 10, and I'm adjourning unless you object.
We made it out before midnight.
We're adjourned. What time is it?
Ten, about
11:36.